episode 12 of In Isolation, UKC's competition climbing chat show. Charlie Bosco here, and joined as ever by Natalie Berry and Mike Langley, and a very special guest and World Cup finalist. I'm just trying to think what we agreed as your really big upline. What was the adjective we agreed to describe you? Legend? Superstar? Will Bosi? Tell me how you got your starting. Did your big brother discover it in Scouts?
Yeah.
You guys must have been pretty competitive. It's three brothers, right?
Yeah. I'm the middle. An older brother and a younger brother. We're all 3 years apart.
What was that like growing up?
I mean, it's kind of pretty similar as to how it is now. As you say, we're super competitive, but I think that all comes from my dad. My dad is ridiculously competitive. Anything that he does, it has to be a competition. Even like just going for a walk, he has to try and walk faster than everyone else. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of was always the normal sort of messing around, sort of play fight. Younger brother Cameron always being the one that would take the brunt of it. But now he's actually the tallest and by far the biggest of us all. So, like whenever if we annoy him or he feels like it literally pick us up and then like chuck us into another room, it's quite ridiculous.
Just keeping on the theme of the early days, you, as far as I'm aware, like many climbers, are inspired by Scott Malk-Smith's ascents on rock and some of his wins in competition as well. He won a Boulder World Cup, multiple national titles. What sort of influence did he have as a fellow Scotsman on your competition kind of climbing in the early days for psych or inspiration? And do you still look to him for words of wisdom these days?
Well, maybe not for wisdom. I think he was kind of a man of few words, especially in terms of on the internet. But yeah, he was a massive idol of mine growing up. The wall where I spent most of my time sort of training when I grew up was like he trained as well. But when I kind of got into training and started there was the years where he stopped. So although I wouldn't see him there, I'd see all like problems that he had set to train on, which were the most ridiculous things you could imagine on the smallest holds and the steepest angles. And just reading and hearing about all the stuff he had, boulders he had first ascended, they're all such classic things that you grow up and that's what you want to climb. So for me, it was a massive influence. Yeah.
Was it Splinter? I think the film that he made was just about him and was it in his loft? He just two moves on homemade holds. Did you ever get to go in the loft and see that board?
Oh, I've never really known him that well. I've spoken to him a bit over like Facebook after I repeated Monk Life and some of his other routes. He sent me messages saying well done, which was really nice. I never really got to meet him much. However, we did meet and Paul Diffley he's been making a film about my outdoor climbing, and we did recreate the Splinter film, which was quite a good laugh.
Brilliant.
I've known you since you were about 7 or 8, and I remember you and your older brother Alex doing laps on the speed wall. He was more of a speed specialist, whereas you were more into lead. But this was before the Olympic announcement. Did you actually enjoy training speed back then, or was it just something you did to try and beat your big brother?
No, I definitely enjoyed it. Like the thing with speed climbing is, although like the race part, and I'm sure part of it was what I was trying to beat him, but it's just trying to get a faster time. Like every time you hit the buzzer and you see your time is like even 0.01 of a second faster, it's so exciting. So like it was always, I enjoyed doing the speed climbing because I wanted to get a faster time.
What did you make of the combined format when it came out? Because you must have fancied your chances when past it, because you had a big head start on a lot of people who'd not trained it at all.
I mean, I had a head start, I think, as a lead climber, definitely not in terms of the actual speed. I was super excited when the decision came out, but more just that climbing was in the Olympics. It wasn't so much about the format. I think whatever format it was in I'd be psyched. You know, I was definitely really excited, still am, but I knew it would be tough for Tokyo because I knew I would be on the younger side. So for me, initially when the decision came out, I wasn't super like, wasn't too bothered by it. I was more like, oh, for the future, this could be incredible. Like potentially Paris is the one I'd be focusing on more.
You had a really successful junior career as well, and you also seemed to make the step up to seniors really easily. What was that like for you?
I mean, I wouldn't have said I made the step up really easily. Like the for sure the first seniors I did, I was coming down in the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. It took quite a long time to sort of consolidate into like the upper end of it. But yeah, the junior definitely helped getting a lot of competition experience and having a really good time with that. I think also just keeping the motivation. It really, like, going and doing well at juniors, it really gives you high hopes that you think you can progress to seniors. So for me, it made a big difference.
Well, you obviously did progress to seniors in 2018. You had the World Cup final in Chamonix, no doubt it's an absolutely epic experience. Just tell us a little bit of a story about getting into the final, first of all, and how it felt to be in front of that just amazing crowd.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was very, very unexpected. I think it was I think it was my second league semi-final that I qualified for. And I trained really hard, so I was hoping to do quite well this season, but I was thinking we should be the limit. So I qualified quite low down in the semi-final. Can't remember exactly where. So I came out quite early on. And I remember I was just halfway on the route and I was boxed in my mind. I felt like I had climbed some of the hardest competition routes I'd ever tried. And it got to this move where you got two finger pockets and you had to like do a 360 through them, so you like spin around footless. And I remember I stuck the second pocket, so I was facing out to the crowd, and I thought, I'm only halfway up the route. I'm not going to qualify for finals. Like, just I remember just like pulling a silly face to the crowd and kind of like having a laugh and then continuing on. I fell off a couple of times later, but actually the route was as hard as I thought it was, and I somehow managed to qualify for the final. And then going on and climbing that final was one of the best experiences of my life. Probably second to climbing in the Chamonix final last year.
I was just out of interest, why you say it was better last year?
Because in 2018, I guess it was so much of a surprise. Like in a sense, being my first final and not made any semis before, I almost maybe didn't feel as deserving to be there. Where then going through that year, training super hard and making it my goal to get back there, I think achieving that goal was slightly more meaningful maybe. And then in the final, being able to actually, like in both finals, I got close to coming on the podium. It wasn't many moves away, but in last year's final, like I closed it a lot more.
And then I wanted to ask you about Boulder. I haven't asked you anything yet.
I know.
I think you know what I'm going to say. Like when I watch you in the Boulder, you can see you've got the horsepower. But the impression I get, and you can tell me if I'm miles off it, but the impression I get is that you struggle to get your head into the game. If something doesn't go right, if Boulder doesn't go well, sometimes you look frustrated to me. Is that the case? Am I reading it right?
I definitely get frustrated in Boulder competitions, but I think the frustration comes from struggling to understand the style. So I've spent, for sure, the last 2 years, the most amount of time put into my training has been into Boulder and trying to do my competition bouldering. And because I've spent so much time and I feel like I've improved so much, if you go to a competition and then it's not going well, and you can't really work out why you can't do the boulders, it's just something isn't clicking. For me, that gets quite frustrating.
Are you kind of doing anything about that? Have you tried to develop a strategy to, I don't know, stay more present or whatever the advice would be?
Definitely, that's something I've been working on since the first couple of Boulder comps I've done as well. It's one of those things where you can't recreate it, because if you're not getting up the boulder and training with, just the whole mental attitude is so different. That is something that I think I've got a lot better at, but I still have a lot of work to go.
Thinking of mental attitude, you come so close to the podium now twice. You were fourth in to the lead comps last summer. What do you think the difference might be between coming fourth and making it onto the podium? Is it maybe a bit of a mental hurdle? You often see people who, once they make one final or one podium, that just starts a spree of medals or wins. Do you think that might play into account?
I don't think for me, if I was to make one podium, it would then spill on to making a podium every comp for sure. I feel like I'm still at that level where to make finals and actually have a good shot at the podium is still like me performing at my best. And to perform at your best is quite hard to do depending on what happens on the day. So I still feel like I can definitely achieve podium at my sort of current level and how I'm training. But it will be, going out and climbing my best. It will be quite a rare thing. I feel like I definitely won't be able to constantly make podiums, but we'll make a couple a year.
So thinking back, Will, to the Hatchioji comp and the Toulouse Olympic qualifying, what were your takeaway things you've taken with you from those performances at those events?
I went to Tokyo on the off chance that I would perform really well, get lucky, but actually 2 weeks before in a a little bit before, but it only became a problem 2 weeks before. I hurt one of my fingers, and that was in the Chamonix warm-up before qualifiers. And then after Brianne, quite sore. So I actually took the last 2 weeks before Hatchioji's rest. So I went into that comp without much training, and it was completely for experience and just to try and experience the format. Definitely learned a lot. And I think taking away the biggest thing is just skin management. It's if you're going on for a 10 competition marathon, it's just how you manage having good skin by and then moving forward to Toulouse, because it was just combined, skin wasn't as big a factor, and kind of for that took away most was that you have to just the best result you can in each discipline. For sure you can win one discipline and it might carry you through, but if you really want to guarantee, you have to perform at all three. And for me, speed, I had a slip, almost a good, amazing run, but still a decent score. Boulder, I performed really well, and then lead, I just didn't have as good a performance as I needed. So it does rely on all three, which I think is really cool.
I was going to ask you actually about how to lose and how you focused on particular events. The guy I always hold up as the example, I could also hold up Janja, but he's just always good. But the guy I example is Jakob Schubert, because no matter what happens, he can have good years and bad years, but I can't remember him bombing in the World Championships or just having a shocker in a competition that really mattered to him. His form comes and goes like everyone, but when it really matters, like last year in Hachioji, he's just there. Same in Innsbruck the year before. Have you got any idea why a guy like that can do that? And have you figured out a little bit yourself about how you could also replicate that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think if you dedicate to a competition rather than a season, you can perform better at that competition, just because you'll be in a better shape. For someone like Jakob, who is such an amazing climber and so strong, when I know, especially as it shows of his outdoor projects, he'll put his mind to something and he will train solely for that. He will go and just do it. Which when he decides to do these big competitions, he can perform on the day because he has trained so hard for it. And I think that's definitely, that's the biggest thing if you want to perform at one event. And I think what I haven't quite understood is how you can train to keep your form up over a whole season. I think that's the really hard thing. Going in, for instance, as you say, Janja being I want to win every Boulder World Cup. I think that's incredible.
Will, just sticking with the theme of big events and things, your profile's been driven up quite a bit recently. Do you feel any commercial pressure with the Olympic umbrella? Do you feel this need to perform?
I'm sure I would if I didn't put so much pressure on myself. But because I think for me, I want to go to the Olympics and I want to achieve that so much. All the other sort of outside pressures don't really matter. It's just because it's so driven by myself. And I feel like if I was a bit less bothered about it, then that would definitely come to play more. But I think because it's such a personal goal for so long, I kind of don't see them.
I guess it's all about marginal gains. And I heard something about your girlfriend learning Russian so that you could pick up speed climbing pizza online. Is that true? That's quite a commitment.
Yeah, I know. She was like bilingual from pretty much from birth, really. Was brought up with French and English, so it's like really talented with languages. And I didn't ask her to. She did it like quite amazing. She learned small bits of Russian and was able to watch some of the videos that they have up on YouTube or Instagram, and then can like understand what the coach is saying. And it's just been little things which are really interesting and useful that we've got out of that.
The
What
spy.
you're saying is your girlfriend's a spy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
That is quite extraordinary. And also speaking of, it's probably not such a marginal gain. You moved to Sheffield a few years ago from Scotland. What's it been like being part of the Sheffield scene versus I'd imagine quite different. I've never lived in either place, but they're quite different Scotland scene.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure I've really ever lived in both in recent years because the comps have been away so much. But no, I mean, it's very different. It's for me though, like the scene, I guess, it's really nice being able to go and train with other site comp climbers. That's been the biggest thing and what's been really useful. And also the fact that there are comp style proms down here, which is the main reason I moved. Whereas in Edinburgh is still very much competitions aren't really that important. You train for outdoors if you want to train. So actually having people that have similar goals to me then been really, really useful in helping motivation and driving forward.
I just touched on it before about the commercialism of climbing, and you've been part of the same team as Shauna now for a while. Have you learnt much being much closer to Shauna and her team?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that I've learned is it's especially with the Olympics, like how much now goes on behind the scenes and how much is from media points of view or, you know, the actual work that goes in stuff, and just sort of finding out more about, you know, how many decisions have to be made and all the organisation behind comps, even through like the organiser's point of view. That's been really interesting to learn about.
When the European Championships in Moscow were postponed in March, how were you feeling before then? I mean, you climbed 9B a few weeks before, so you can't have been feeling that bad.
Yeah, I mean that's a funny one because I climbed essentially one route in a 4-month trip, a 4-week trip. 4 months would be even worse. And obviously it's this route by 2 grades. And super psyched about it, but you come home and you go back to training, and I was like 10 kilos weaker on the fingerboard. Like back, you know, that's like 6 years back training, and I built it back fairly fast, but still, it's always back from a trip feeling you've accomplished a lot, but then you know when training you've gone down. However, then like training through till March, I was feeling really good, and in a way, I was feeling ready for this whole qualification journey to be over. It's gone on for so long now. And when it got postponed, it was definitely like, it was for a good reason. And as it's been said in some of these other interviews, like there's more important things than climbing at this time. But it was definitely frustrating. And with it being pushed to June, it was clear that it would be postponed again because the situation was definitely not going to be better by then. So it was kind of knowing that I should go training, I should try like training at home, but not really knowing what I'm training for, / like when I'm training for. And that's been quite hard. And then it's been pushed back from October now, so it's now November, and is it going to be November? I have to train for that, but chances are it could get pushed back again. So that's quite tough mentally, but yeah, just kind of make one plan and then have to readjust it. But yes, that's life.
How do you feel about your chances of Olympic qualification? Obviously, you have to win that competition. How do you feel about that? There must be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it's a gamble, because if you go there and the routes and the boulders don't suit you and they suit one of your competitors really well, then chances are going to be really tough. But I feel like I've got a really good chance, and if I go there and if I then I'll qualify, and if I go there and I won't. But I feel like I'm definitely strong enough and fit enough, so I definitely think I've got a good chance.
We've already touched on it a little bit, but it seems like you balance indoor and outdoor climbing really well. How do you make that work? Do you think realistically that's sustainable? Do you think that you can achieve your competition and outdoor goals simultaneously? Or are you going to need to say, right, till 2024 Paris or whatever it might be, till I win a world championship, whatever your goal is, I'm a comp climber and then I'll go outdoors, which it seems is what Janja's kind of doing. But then you've got Adam Ondra, who seems to do both kind of simultaneously.
In fairness, with Adam, because he didn't think he could do uni climbing, so he postponed his uni to climb 9B plus, and then he climbed silence and then decided to dedicate all his training into the Olympics. And I think it's the same for me. And if I want to achieve my ultimate level at one, I have to dedicate to it and sacrifice the other. However, with Adam, he's still strong enough, he can go out for a short trip and take a HC plus boulder. And for me, that's going to be how it will be, especially if I commit to Paris. I'll have short trips here and there where I get to go out and hopefully climb something fairly hard, but I won't be pushing my outdoor limit as hard as I can, because it would take far too much time.
Having said that, Will, you did just do an 8B plus in a number, like a handful of goes just a couple of weeks ago as well. So it's obviously not working out too badly.
Yeah, I was really happy with that, because all this time sort of in quarantine training and not being able to compare myself to on routes or the people that's been. I wasn't sure if I was feeling really strong or just feeling kind of not that strong, because I had no gauge. So it was really nice to go out and actually do something really hard. But that's the thing. If I had got on it and got shut down, I wouldn't be able to go back and spend many sessions, because I do want to be training for the competitions. And I think where the difference comes in, where if you're going to be strong enough to climb something fast, you can do it, but not worth dedicating any time to.
Of dedicating yourself to something, as far as I'm aware, you follow a pretty strict training and diet regime. The diet is something that's got a lot in climbing, but how does it work for you? Are you able to give your number one diet tip to all those people out there who drop a few kgs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow a strict diet. Basically, what I do is when I'm hungry, I eat, and when I'm not hungry, I don't eat. So what my sort of normal weight will fluctuate over the year, over winter, where I'm focusing on strength training and doing really hard sessions. I end up being probably hungrier, so I eat more. I gain a couple kilos, and then as I come into lead and I'm doing more endurance based, less strength, I guess I don't eat as much, because I always will lose 1 or 2 kilos, and then it just kind of stays around that for the whole year. The only secret diet tip I've got, which everyone finds quite funny, I love eating oatcakes and parmesan. I reckon that's the best combination. But it takes from my dad's Italian heritage as well. As you've got the parmesan and then you've got the Scottish side of the oatcakes. It's just perfect blend.
Take your word for that one.
What are your plans before, if any competitions happen in the next few months? Are you going to get back on mutation?
Yeah, I'm super keen to get back on mutation. It's definitely not a route for heat, and I've not been back on it because Raventor is quite a small and busy crag, and for me the biggest thing is staying healthy. So I'm not sure exactly, but I saw maybe Brianson was hoping to go ahead with their World Cup, but if if I can't really guarantee my safety, then I won't travel. Like, for sure, my priority is staying safe at the moment and keeping fit. So unless the competition is going to be as safe as it can be, I'll be happy to stay home and keep training.
All right. Well, Will, hopefully we'll see you at a safe Briançon, or we'll be 2 meters from you at a safe Briançon sometime soon. I've heard something similar, but yeah, who knows? It'd be great to see you soon, and good luck with all the training, and hopefully we can all make it to Moscow one day, and you'll get the result you want.
If it's November, we're going to need some big jackets. So
yeah. We did a city tour there for the last one, and we were there in April, and I forgot my jacket, and hands have just about come back 14 months later. It's gonna be nippy in late November, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's quite a cold arena as well. There's not really any heating, I don't seem to remember, so it'll be fun.
Well, hopefully we'll see you somewhere hot and sunny then, before we see you somewhere freezing cold in central Moscow.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call, Will.
Thank you.
Yes, Will.